And as Greg and I were talking, the reason we are almost 1 minute late is because I was telling him about the puppies. But that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about what is needed for an SEO audit. Now, if you don't know me, I'm Pip. And this is...
Greg, and I run Original 72 Creative.
Right? Yeah, Greg, you're awesome. And what is Original 72 Creative?
We are a full service website graphic design and digital marketing firm in
Right?
Vancouver.
Yeah. And we're an SEO and Google Ads firm on Vancouver Island. And our powers combined, we talk marketing.
Absolutely.
We talk marketing. So,
Man, if
Greg,
people got us as a team,
oh,
how great would that be?
it's true. It's true.
Wow.
Well, you know stuff and I know more stuff or other stuff, better stuff. No, he's disagreeing with me. I
What? I was
don't,
thinking
I
yes.
definitely don't know websites as well as you. But, so here's the thing though with SEO, you kind of, for the most part, need a website. So my services kind of pair with yours or come after yours oftentimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the website typically is. We had this conversation last week when Rena and I were on.
Oh,
About like sort of what comes first, the SEO or the website or the social. Um, and a lot of the times, I've always been like, get a website
yeah.
first and foremost. I mean, like you just said, you cannot SEO
Nothing.
nothing, right?
I mean,
So,
you could just use Google Business Profile, but it would lead to nowhere.
yeah,
And then what happens if your account gets suspended or something? Then, you don't own it.
yeah.
That makes me want to break into song, the song, You Don't Own Me. No, anyway. Uh, Sometimes I have musical days, even though I sound like a dead cat.
Oh my
But,
god, imagine we could do a musical geek speak.
oh no, it would be hard for people to listen. Hold on.
All right, we're getting off topic here. Thanks for sticking through.
There we are not off topic. We're right on target. So when talking about websites and SEO, that leads us right into audits and
Mhm.
what we're talking about today, which is what's needed in audit. Now we have some questions we're going to also try to answer, but first let's talk about what is an SEO audit, why do you do them, and what should be included. So SEO audits are kind of tests you do on website or your digital place online in Google mainly. Like this doesn't really include socials except to see maybe where most of your traffic's coming from, right? So audits are huge in SEO. We learned the hard way, as many SEOs do, that you can't just sell somebody SEO. You have to get in there, look at all the stuff in the things to make decisions so you can make an SEO plan, so you can make a good SEO plan, right? So, and I know you look at websites often before you start working on them. It's kind of like an audit, but you're doing an overview of what you might need, right?
Yeah, for me, like when we were talking, I don't specifically do an audit that people can come to me and say, like, I want you to look at my site, give me a report on how it's performing, what I should change. I don't do that as a service, but every time I start a new project, or take over an existing client's site, the first thing I do is go and do an overview of what the status is of what they have and what they're doing, and that is my audit. And then that arms me with the information I need to best present an, a proposal to the client on what I think they need to do and to get a better website and move forward with me.
Now, do you check things like if they've done meta descriptions, titles, URLs, stuff like that?
Yep.
Yeah. And do you often see people buying SEO audits after they do a website, or do you put their website through any SEO tools? Because I know you're more focused on the website,
Yeah.
but are there like, because you do page speed tests and stuff, right?
I do pay that's basically the majority of what I do is the page speed testing to see really how the website is performing, not so much an audit of how their SEO is working because of the fact that I'm going to be helping them with their website build or redesign. So I'm more focused on how it currently performs, what's already built in there, and what are they doing. And yes, that does include meta tags, meta descriptions, titles, and things like that, just as a general, because that's more on page
Yeah.
optimization and stuff. I consider that more website
Uh, I
related almost
consider it more
than
SEO.
SEO.
It's SEO. It's full SEO.
It is, but it's something you absolutely have to do with a website. So I just consider it a website thing that they need to have those titles and descriptions
Really,
on their pages as
I
well.
didn't know that. I mean, I've come across lots of websites that don't have any SEO, like haven't done that at all. Like I don't know many web developers that do that because you have to do the keyword research to do those properly, right? But I guess you're just making it what the page is about.
Well, like I said, it's more a web audit, like that these things are done in their website,
Mm,
as opposed to an SEO audit, which would be what you do more, is focus on, okay, what are they doing for SEO? It's there, but what is the status of their keywords that they're using,
yeah.
and
Are they using
link
keyword?
backs that they have, and those types of things.
Yeah. We one of the questions in here is what kind of audits are like, what kind of SEO audits do you do, and what about automated audits? And the types of audits we do are, we do a keyword audit, like the meta descriptions, titles, URL audit. We do technical audit, like the on page audit. We do competitor research, which is like a competitor audit, specifically for local SEO mainly, because that's one of our focuses. And and a lot of our audits are done, using a spreadsheet and like some manual stuff. I know there's a lot of audits you can plug a website into and get all these things, but often don't find those like automated audits or the free audits on people's websites very good.
So you're actually going through the site and looking, and then marking that down in your spreadsheet.
For
Um,
some things, yeah, like we do a screaming frog audit, right? And then we'll download what is going on, and we'll tell you, you have 52 meta descriptions that are not done or too long. There's no keyword research done, or the keywords picked for the pages aren't good, or good enough, or we can do better, or don't have schema, or usually we find issues with tracking a lot of the time, right? So
mhm.
we do a measure setup, and in that, there you kind of have to audit what's going on, because I've been asked, oh, okay, I have my measure set up, do I have to pay for that? I'm like, well, we have to check what you did, right? Or what another company did, just because everybody can do it slightly differently, and it's really easy to break it or mess it up slightly.
Mhm.
We see a lot of websites with double tracking, right?
Yeah,
Right. So, but the audits we do, it's mainly, we use Screaming Frog first and foremost, actually. They're beautiful.
right,
Frog, the
right.
free version. So, and that just gives you oh, I know, I noticed your door opening, and I'm like, who's coming in? But that was
Surprise visit.
surprise. Hi.
Hello,
Hi.
how are you? I was like, who is it? I'm like, it's just Pip. How are
Yeah,
you?
I'm good. How
We
are you?
are on our live though.
We are live. This is Jamie. She's amazing, just so you know. Um, so I have, why are SEO audits important? And I answered this, didn't I? You can't really do SEO without doing an audit. That's what I think, right? Um,
Yeah, I mean, the purpose of the audit really is to get a baseline of where the client's at, so that you can benchmark the progress
Yeah.
of where what your efforts are doing for them
Yeah.
as you make changes and optimize. So they're super important.
And it's it just makes things more effectively because then you know what to do first. Like if you have broken links on your site, you kind of want to fix those first. um and then if your site's slow or there's no the keyword research is probably one of the first things we end up doing. We map out people's websites on a spreadsheet. It's super fun. uh and that gives us the ability to then do the keyword research, attach it to the pages, and then know and have the research to back up what we're saying.
Hmm.
um Usually there's a 3-step process that we come up with after SEO, and it's either you're doing technical or on page first, or local SEO, like, which includes Google Business Profile. So depending on what your business is doing, because every business is different. I don't think you can really do. I mean, you can do blanket packages for SEO. However, to get good SEO,
Hmm.
it has to be individualized because every person, every business is in a slightly different spot, right? With their digital assets. Like, um, and yeah, I mean, most SEOs recommend doing an audit first, and then that tells you how much time and energy you need to spend doing the tasks, right? I think the hardest part of SEO is letting people know that, hey, this isn't like a 1 year process. Because if you want to measure year over year, you need to be working with us for at least a year,
Hmm.
right? And so it's more about the relationship you have so that you can find out what the client actually wants, what they
Hmm.
want to know, and what they're measuring to show success, right? Which I think is really hard. I think SEO is kind of hard in that. I think that's the hardest part of SEO.
I think the difficult thing about SEO is that the customers don't often really understand what we're doing.
Yeah, it's
And
true.
so it opens the door for just so many questions to be, there are things that, unless you're giving good reporting, they may not see what all of this money is going towards, right?
Well, and they
So
don't see. They don't, even if you give good reporting, there's lots of terms they're not going to know, like, what is a goal? What is a conversion?
mm,
In layman's terms, those are leads, right? And so there's a huge education process, I think, in this, and that makes it hard because oftentimes you'll be working away and your client's thinking, well, what are they doing? We try to document everything so that the client can see if they want to see. We put a roadmap together and then work through that roadmap. But I it's funny because I can see numbers go up like on Search Console and things like that, like the traffic increase or the impressions increase and the click increase. But then 6 months in, the client's like, I I don't see value, and that it does make it really hard because there's so much education behind it, right?
yeah,
I think
absolutely.
everybody needs SEO now, though. Of course, I do.
Well,
Just
anybody with a website does need SEO. So
well, I think that phrase, "you
it's
build it."
almost like you have a car, you need gas
Yeah,
for the car.
yeah.
You have a website, you need SEO for the website.
Oh, I like the gas in the for the. Yeah, that's
But
kind
your
of cool.
car's not going to perform very well with no gas. Your website's not going to perform very well without SEO.
Yeah, it's true. If you
So,
build it, they do not always come. Like, depends what your competition is doing, right? So the question is, what is important in an audit? Well, number one, automated audits are not the greatest using audit tools, but combining audits, right? Like we do Ahrefs has a template and a video for free that you can do a content audit, which tells you which content doesn't get looked at, which has the most backlinks, um, and you can do the audit with Google Search Console, which is quite effective. I mean, usually it says get rid of everything, but or because you basically want to get rid of thin content. You want to make sure that if you're writing content and nobody's looking at it, like, why are
What
you
the-
doing this?
yeah.
And that should mean you're going to change direction with what you're doing, or do it better, or find out what your competition's doing and see if they're ranking, right?
Yeah, like what's the point of the page if there's really no content?
Yeah.
It needs to be something that you're putting out there that should be worth putting out there for someone to see. So it sounds like some pages would just be there for no reason. Like it's not providing any value to a client to look at.
Yeah.
And so either rethink what you have. If you really think what you've got on that page is something that people should really see, rewrite and add more.
Well, and this is where the website people who make websites come into play, because when you do audits, something that's really important is the UX, right? Like, you don't necessarily want the contact us button or on the left hand side when everybody else does it on the right, because you want to stop people from thinking too hard, from having to look. How often do we get frustrated when you're looking over a page and you're like, where do I just did it this morning because the website had a hamburger menu for a desktop, and that was
Mm-hmm.
fine, but I was like, it was the Trello login. It had changed, and now they're doing left or right hand side menu down, like vertical menu, and
Yeah.
it's okay, but
There, I mean, you're gonna get to a point always with websites where designs change, trends change, right? And that is a trend that's been gaining more traction on websites for the past year and a half, I want to say, where your navigation is all in a hamburger menu in the upper right, and usually like a panel comes out from that right side and shows you your menu. And the reason people that design start trend started is because of the mobile, and so many people on mobile, and that's how the mobile menus typically work, right? So when you go to the mobile view of a site, you'll have that hamburger menu coming out from the right to get the navigation. And so
yeah.
design trend became, well, let's just build bigger sites and simplify and just do a hamburger menu and keep the design real simple and sleek
Mm.
on desktop and mobile. So that's why you see that you're
Isn't that
starting to see that a lot more.
I noticed that a lot of real estate developers want a one-page site. So they like beautiful graphics, which can be really heavy. They don't put any content on the pages necessarily, like written content, which really negatively affects SEO.
Mm-hmm.
And they want one-page parallax, right?
Yeah.
So the scrolling website, but one page to rank one page it's not an effective SEO strategy. And that's the thing about different marketers, right? If a client calls you and calls me, and we meet and we're asked, well, what is the most important thing about a website? You're probably going to say to have one, and then and I'm going to say no, it's SEO, right? But then yeah. So, and every graphic designer is going to say, oh, the graphics are the most important.
It needs to look awesome.
Yeah. And so yeah, you got to get different opinions from different people, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in order of importance for me, it's always number one to actually have it, because, like we talked at the beginning, you can't SEO a site that you don't have.
That is true.
Secondly, I would say the important thing would be making sure it's optimized. And then third, it needs to be nice to look at and
Yeah.
not. just a pile of garbage.
Well, UX design is really important, right? You definitely, when and I will tell you, there's a movie that's got I don't know, its little image is yellow with white text, and I'm like, I won't even watch you because you're not being aware that some people can't see that, right? So, which speaks directly to UX, right? Who are you designing for? What are you thinking about? And what's important? Because every page on your website should have an action, right? Like, what do
Mhm.
you want? What's the page about? Um, what's the focused keyword? And what do you want somebody to do? Like, what is the next step you want them to take? Will they take that step? Everybody goes through a website slightly differently, but there are some natural things that we do, which is usually we go to the home page, right? And then we go to the about page, and then we might go to services and blog, and then contact. But
Mhm.
everybody does it a little differently, but that's the general outcome. So with that in mind, when you do an audit, you're looking at, okay, what is this page about? Do they the UX, right? Is it easy to navigate? And there's tools you can do audits like Microsoft Clarity. You can put that on a site and that'll track the for free where somebody's moving their mouse, so you can see like rage clicks. Love the rage click, right? Where you can't, nothing happens when you click, so you violently click your mouse. I mean, you know, I don't know how violent a mouse click can be, but um so yeah, there's so many audits you can do. I mean, we probably do upwards of 10 or maybe 7 or 8, depending on the business too, right? Like if you're not local
For each business, like 7 or 8 audits,
for
different
each
audits
business.
for one client.
Yeah, and we
Right.
actually put together a slide deck to go through the audits. We give clients access to all the audits, not necessarily that they're going to understand them, but they can see our work, right? That we've
Yeah.
done so that we can show what conclusion we made because you need to prove your work, right? Just like
Hmm.
you need to get approvals. I think the hardest things any marketer goes through getting approvals and getting access. No?
Yeah, getting access is at the top of the list.
Top of the list, right? Yeah, and everybody goes through it. It's a challenging one,
Yeah.
right? You don't have trouble getting access, do you, or have you run across big access problems?
Not typically, no. Because I know exactly what I need to tell them to
Mm.
give me. Like if
Yeah,
they don't know the username, like a username or password, I'm like, okay, for this, I need you to give me this then, so that I can initiate
yeah,
getting access or something. Because I find a lot of the times customers don't even know they have accounts for some things, right?
yeah,
So it's like, okay, go here, fill in your email, hit this. And I typically will just do it for them. And then I'll tell them, hey, look for an email from whatever with
yeah.
a password reset. Do that, send it to me. Done.
Yeah, that makes good sense. This is why marketers need to be more collaborative too, because the old person that did stuff is going to have the access. And
Hmm.
so if you have a good relationship, we all know that people are going to move around, people have different situations. There is attrition in marketing, right? But if we all support each other instead of blocking each other from getting access and we, play nice in the sandbox.
One of the things that always drove me nuts, and I think I've spoken about this before on probably a topic where we discuss making sure you own all of your own assets and
Yeah.
accounts, right? So I've taken over so many websites where the client doesn't know or has no access to their old analytics from the old site,
Yeah.
or clients who are with me who I've set up analytics for, who maybe go have someone else start working with them or build a site somewhere else. And I always say, make sure they put use here's your analytics account, make sure they plug this in and they get access to this, because so many times they just set up a new account and
Yeah.
start from scratch again, and I'm like, you have all of this history, it's here, you just
Yeah.
need to, you know,
And
take
that's
the access and put in this code instead of the new person. starting a brand new account. Like,
it's really important to keep that old information too, and clean data, right?
yeah.
So oftentimes we'll see with the double codes and stuff, you don't have clean data. That the reality, I got asked this last week, which is because Google Analytics and Google Analytics 4, they don't cross over, right? Like there's no, so when Google Analytics UA turns off, you want to have some backdated information, right? So
Mhm.
everybody we still set up both right now. And when GA Universal gets deprecated, we will have a year or two's worth of info. So we can look back further if we want, but we'll have that info. Because when you do audits, you need to be looking at how much organic traffic do people get? What are the backlinks they have? Like, are they doing keywords? What's the content doing? Like, and what's the competitors? And there's a lot of paid tools out there, and I guess a lot of SEOs will just go to SEMrush or something like that, who can do audits, and you can plug things in. I've seen some of the audits that are done. If you want something good though, you need people that are going to take the time, who are actually going to scour through your information, because you want, in Google Analytics, you can see the conversion path. So you can see 4 times they went to Facebook, and then they went to direct, and then they clicked on your ad, and then they filled out your form.
Yeah.
And you need to see that, because if everybody's dropping off on your contact page and you're not getting any leads, well, your contact page may be broken. And we all know that contact pages break on the random. I think we should have to check them every 3 to 6 months. I think ours is broken right now, actually. Somebody told me like
What?
yesterday. Yeah. Hey, aren't you my web guy?
Yeah. We should look at that, so because it shouldn't be broken.
Right. Yeah. And our info email. Anyway, yeah, things to update, right? There's always something to do on a website.
So we've talked about a bunch of stuff, different audits and different things to look at in the audits, and we're running close to time, but I wanted to find out, because I'm curious. I'm not sure I know what this NAP is.
Oh, NAP, the NAP.
That thing I want to go take right now.
Right. NAP, name, address, phone number. So that's local SEO audit. So there's a couple ways to do that. You can run a couple audits in, like Moz has a free audit tool to look, and all you're looking for is the citations around the web. Do they match? Do you have them? Like, and the other thing to do is, as a business owner, technically you want to take up the first 3 pages for your business, right? So Seymour Digital Media, I want the first 3 pages of the search engine results pages to say Seymour Digital Media if I type in my business name. I want my Facebook there, my LinkedIn there, I want Yelp there, I want, all the things. And so we actually do a physical audit. Like, we go and we search incognito, or we'll use like a VPN tool that Bright Local has to see who's showing up in the map section. So a NAP audit is looking at the search engine results pages and then doing some tests to see, like, have they filled out this information. A lot of business owners do not know Apple Maps is like a big deal, because so many people have Apple phones and so many people use it. Did you know Apple has, you can sign up for Apple Business so that your business can show up on the maps? However, to do that, you need to collaborate with your client, because they need to pick up the phone and give you the code to punch in. So that's what a NAP audit is. And a lot of, I think I'd say maybe a third of local SEO would be doing the NAP, which can be a very arduous task, not gonna lie. And SEOs used to spend more time on correcting the name, address, phone number across the web. And if you think about NAP, name, address, phone number across the web, you got to think about, what are people doing when they look for a business online? So we know that at least, I think it's 40 to 70%, yes, wide range, because I think it's higher. When they search a local business, within 48 hours, they're visiting, right? So we want to know, when we're searching, like, how do I get in touch with the business? Where is the business located? And where can I learn about the business, right? So name, address, phone number. Address can be URL too, right? So depending on the type of business you have, But NAP is just, it's a citation building, so backlink building using local sites specific to your industry or like Yelp that tell search engines, hey, this business matches, like they all match. Oh, okay, it's this business. They're more trustworthy because I see them all around the web, right?
Last question before we wrap up, because I'm curious, and I don't think a lot of people know this, is how important does the formatting of the address being the same everywhere, how important do you feel that is?
It's changing now because the search engines are more equipped to differentiate between RD and road spelled out. However, you do want it to match because search engines aren't as smart as we are, and they might think it's two locations, right? And so you'll have duplicates. Sometimes a duplicate will get created for you because there's a mismatch in phone number, in hours. So you want them to match, but it's becoming less of a concern.
I don't know if you do this, but I do this. I go to Google and search for the business, and whatever Google thinks the address is, or however Google formats the address, I typically try to use that format
Yes.
everywhere
We're
else.
so the same. So I mean, when people do the phone numbers now, you do the two brackets with the, with the first three numbers, a space, three
Yeah,
numbers, a dash, four numbers, because that's how Google does it
that's the proper format for.
from
Uh,
Google.
no,
But
that's the actual proper format of a phone number.
who's making
It's
rules?
it's always been the proper format
Uh,
for a
well,
phone number.
maybe
It
not.
it wasn't until people were trying to get fancy with just doing dashes or even doing dots
Dots
instead
are
of the
good.
dashes, that
I
because people designers screwed it up because
I
they're like, how do I make a phone number look cooler?
right.
Let's
Well,
just use dots.
and what does the dot mean in code, Greg? Tell us. You know that.
end end of sentence.
Yeah, dot. Period. Done.
Yep,
Right.
done.
So notice like dot JPEG dot PNG dot blah blah blah. So it's the end, and then there's what it, I don't know, extension
Oh
or
my
whatever.
god, we don't have time, but I could go off on a tangent on all kinds of stuff.
I bet you could. Greg, do you know what we're talking about next week?
You know what? I do not.
Oh my gosh, it's this month in the world of marketing. So
Oh, is that next week?
yeah. So that's every third or
Awesome.
every fourth,
Every fourth. So it's
the last
The
Thursday.
last Thursday of the month, I guess.
Well,
Next
no,
week.
because
Yeah.
it's the 23rd. So it's the fourth Thursday of the month. And we give an update about everything we've learned, websites, search and social, because that's what we all of us have our specialty, right? Rena does social, Greg does websites, and we do search. And we come together to talk about all the things and the stuff that are going on in the industries because they change so fast. So join us. If you're not in our group and you're watching somewhere else, we run a group called Cyberpunk Geeks Marketing Mixer. It's where marketing is a group effort. And join us there if you're not there already. And we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye. Have a great day.